You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome to Inspiring Leaders. I'm Donna Chandler Newman, your host for our show, and thank you for watching our program. Now, through this show, we meet community leaders and we examine how they're using their unique talents and their skill sets to make a difference. And through our discussions, we hope to inspire others to discover and to share their own leadership abilities for the overall betterment of our community. Now, today on our show, we'll explore the arts, performing arts, that is, and in particular, we'll talk with leaders of one of our great treasures of the Mid-South, the Germantown Community Theatre, an organization whose mission is to engage, entertain, educate, and enrich. In our first segment, we'll meet Brian Everson, Executive Director of Germantown Community Theatre, along with Eric Newsom, First Vice President of their Board of Directors. And in our second segment, Brian and I will be joined by Dr. James Bo Adams, President of the Board of Directors of Germantown Community Theatre. Now, by the end of our show today, I'm fairly certain that you'll want to visit in person to see firsthand what makes this 47-year-old intimate theater so completely unique and absolutely enticing. Joining us now are Brian Everson, Executive Director, and Eric Newsom, First Vice President of Germantown Community Theatre. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us, Donna.
I'm so glad you're both here. Well, okay, so let's start with where you guys came from. All right, Brian, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you became affiliated with Germantown Community Theatre.
Well, I would have to say I've been working in the theater in some capacity, usually as an actor, for the last decade. I think my first show there was Guys and Dolls, which was directed by Marler Stone about 9 or 10 years ago.
Wow.
Since then, I've kind of been in at least one show a year and I've directed a few times. In the last 2 years, I've been serving on the Board of Directors as First Vice President, and as of August 1st, I took over as Executive Director of the theater.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Now, Eric, you came to us in a different path. You have a varied business background as well. Tell us about how you came to Germantown Community Theatre and a little about your background.
Sure, mine was a little bit more circuitous, as they say. So I've been involved in local Memphis theater for about 12 years. I have been in Memphis for about 25 years, mostly in information technology and, as you said, sort of management and business. I fell in love with theater as just a volunteer, and we started out, my wife finally roped me into a show at Theater Memphis years ago, and it only took one, and so I was hooked. And I was involved with their board of directors as well. I first got involved with Germantown Community Theatre. I think my first production was 12th Night. Back in 2012 or 13, and then I followed that with Company, and my son has served as just a prolific stage manager out there as well. So, and my wife has been on stage out there as well. So my whole family has been involved with Germantown Community Theatre for several years as well.
And so when you were in Company, etc., you were an actor in those,
That's
correct?
exactly right, yes.
Gotcha. Well,
I did that show with Brian, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Well, you two have quite an intertwined little relationship here. In fact, you switched positions recently. Tell me how that came about.
Well, about a year ago, the Board of Directors came to Eric, and we were in need of some leadership, and we knew, based off Eric's background in business, that he would be an ideal person for that role. And Eric graciously accepted the position, and we gave him some very difficult goals that we set for him, and throughout this past year, he's reached those goals, and after he had accomplished what we had asked him to set out, he was ready to step back from the executive chair and take over as on our board to kind of make sure the path he set us on, that he can continue to oversee it in the coming years.
So basically, we're not losing either of your leaderships. We just switched, right?
Pretty much.
That's exactly right. We just put the better face forward in the front office. So
well, the more thespian background.
That's right.
Is
That's
that
exactly
right?
right.
Yeah. So
yes, and I'm very well suited to do what I'm doing now with governance and oversight, and keeping an eye on, the bottom line and the financial health of the theater. So I think we're both in the better roles that we can serve the theater.
Well, it looks like that we were blessed to have both, apparently. And you know, full disclosure, I must say that I'm a newly appointed board member for Germantown Community Theatre.
We're excited to have you.
Very excited.
Thank you, and I'm excited to serve. So I'm looking forward to that over the next few years. So that's terrific. Okay, the theater has been around for quite a while. It's not like a new development. You can tell by even being in the building too. But it's been a real treasure for Germantown for a while. How many years, and what's the history of the theater?
Well, we're currently in our 47th season, and we have to give credit where credit's due. We were kind of given birth by the Germantown Women's Club. Was the original organization that helped get us on our feet, and we have been in the schoolhouse since
37 years.
37 years.
47. So 10 years in a small one-room classroom at a church is where we started out. So,
oh my gracious, really? Oh my goodness, great. Well, so it's quite a long time, and so blessed. I've been to I don't know how many productions there. Each of them are really wonderful and to be treasured. Your mission again is to engage.
Yes, that's one of our goals, is to engage our community through various, through either it being the productions that we put on, or with our educational programs, with the youth, and actually now with adults as well. We're recently added some adult dance classes, and we're adding some adult acting classes.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. And acting can be used in any phase of life. If you're a business leader, it wouldn't hurt to be able to be more comfortable in front of a large audience, and that's something that we can engage our community and help and enrich, which is another one of our goals, enrich our community and provide a service to the city of Germantown and the surrounding areas.
You know, every time I say your mission, I forget the main one, entertain. I mean, it's, you know, engage, entertain. And so talk to me about entertaining. What do you do to entertain?
Well, this year we have a seven-show season. We try to have a variety of different types of productions, whether it be musicals, whether it be comedies, whether it be mysteries, whether it be something that's, from an artistic standpoint, something that is a classic. To make sure that all of our patrons, that we service all of our patrons, because people have different tastes, and some people just want to come to comedies, and that's great. So we have something for them, and some people want to have something thought-provoking, so we provide something to them. So our goal as far as entertaining is to take the wide variety of productions that we can do and kind of sprinkle them throughout the season, and hope that our patrons will get something out of each show that we put on.
And I think we do that with a very unique value proposition, in that the intimacy, the size of our theater is such that it really sets us apart. And when you're in our patronage, it's almost as though you were in our production, because it is just such a warm, intimate space, and people really do enjoy being entertained at that facility. So.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, you pick up the nuances from people's faces, and you're right. You feel like when the screen door slammed in, which play was that, Streetcar? When that screen door slammed, I thought I was right there in the middle of it. So yeah, you're exactly right. It's totally enjoyable. Now, you do more than entertain, though. You also educate. Tell me about your school programs. How do you educate?
Well, currently, we have a wonderful education coordinator, Cheryl McClurg, and she has been with us for
she's in her fourth year.
And she's a former educator. She used to be a theater teacher at the high school I graduated from, Harding Academy. So she was a theater teacher there, and then came to us, and she's currently teaching some homeschool classes on Wednesdays. And we also have a record-breaking group of hers for Fairy Tale Trail, which will be at Farm Park in October. That she's taking, I think it's 52 children, ages 6 to 18, and she's teaching them about the tale of Peter Pan, and teaching them to act out, and this is be a lot of their first acting experiences. So we're teaching them not only about the story, we're also teaching them how they can be comfortable on stage as well, and gain confidence as far as being in front of people.
Okay, so that whole Fairy Tale Trail thing has confused me. That is it's done with Parks and Recreation of Germantown from the city, so you're in collaboration with them.
It is, yes.
Tell me how you do it and what does it look like physically? Am I walking through a maze or?
Not a maze, but you are walking down a trail. And if you go to Farm Park, you would purchase your ticket, and then you would walk through the trail and come upon a vignette scene. And you will watch the scene and then continue on. And I believe this year, if I'm correct, I think there's 5 different vignettes. So as you're walking through the trail and watching those 5 vignettes, you'll get the whole story of Peter Pan.
Oh, that's way cool. That really is.
And another thing that we do as a part of that education umbrella is we have 2 shows that are now a part of the main lineup of the season, but those are primarily geared towards pediatric audience or pediatric casts. So we get kids in for oftentimes their first acting experience. Some are repeats and regulars, and we love having them as well. But it gives us an opportunity to produce a show, kind of with primarily children on stage, and that all sort of came about historically through Germantown Community Theatre taking over the former Morgan Woods Theatre here in Germantown. So we sort of inherited that ability to produce children's shows for the community in Germantown.
So also in collaboration with the city of Germantown, right?
Very much so.
That's good. Most of your audience, is most of your audience from Germantown, or tell me?
I would say I would guess probably 70 to 80% of our audience tends to be residents of Germantown. And the other 30 would be our surrounding areas, whether Memphis or Collierville. I mean, had a patron in from DeSoto County last week that I talked to. So we do have a pretty wide-ranging audience and a reach.
And the theaters are very much a part of the Ostrander community here for judging and awarding shows, and so we're very much integrated with the sort of the Mid-South theater community. So a lot of people come in from Midtown, East Memphis that are a part of that Mid-South performing arts scene.
Oh, actually, I didn't know that until I sat next to one of them, and they told me all about it. You guys have apparently won some awards recently too, correct?
We did.
So this year we had 5 nominations, and we took one of those home for props in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yeah, Miss Betty Dilley.
We were also very fortunate to honor one of our volunteers as kind of the featured behind the scenes award is what it's called. And so we had a couple of our participants that were featured this year. And some years we do even better than that. Some years we don't bring a couple home, but historically we've been very well awarded in the Ostrander scene.
Well, okay, so you're right down the street from GPAC, and so it begs a comparison and a contrast. Tell me the similarities and the differences between the two. You aren't competition, are you?
No, not at all. I will tell you from a comparison rather than contrast standpoint, one thing that does come up very frequently as being the same as the name. We have repair people show up all the time at one of the other facilities, or sometimes even patrons I think go to one of the other facilities. So we want it very clear we're Germantown Community Theatre. So contrast to GPAC.
Contrast. GPAC has wonderful productions, and I say we complement each other more than anything. Their space is a beautiful, large, wonderful space, and they tend to bring in some of the beautiful concert events and orchestras. They don't do a whole lot of live theater, which is kind of where we fit in, and we provide that live theater experience in a very intimate space. I mean, you see the sweat coming off someone's brow, where at GPAC, unless you're on the front couple rows, you might not be able to see that much detail, but we very much, we partner. I mean, GPAC funds us educationally through some grants, and we partner with them, and we sure appreciate all the support that they do give us.
Yeah.
And both organizations are funded through the city of Germantown, and I think it speaks to what the leadership here in the community sees as the need to have a wide array of options available for the patrons that want to be entertained. So GPAC does a wonderful job of being the presenting house in town, and then we get to have the opportunity to be the producing house in town.
I've always seen both facilities as being amenities of being a citizen here, and absolutely a plus bonus for anybody who's close by, that they get to come as well. So
well, we spent the last year really working very closely with the city and the administration and defining our goals, defining where we wanted to go in the future, and they really stepped up their support this year, and we're just so thankful to the mayor, the board of aldermen, and all the administration and Parks and Rec and GPAC especially for their partnership in helping support the mission of GCT.
Well, I thank them too. All of the community thanks them. And I thank both of you for being here today. What a great job you've done with us, getting us to know Germantown Community Theatre a little better. Brian, will you stay with me for our next segment? Eric, thank you so much. You both are such a treasure to our community. Thank you.
Don, it's a pleasure to see you again. Thank you.
Now we're going to pause now for a short break, and when we return, Brian and I will be joined by Bo Adams, President of the Board of Directors for Germantown Community Theatre.
We're running a 24-hour broadcast television station like no other school has done.
It is student run, it's student produced, it is student written, and it's student directed.
Here's to another 35 more years.
Students here get immersed in lots of different types of shows so that when they go out into the real world or to college, if this is what they want to pursue, they are so prepared.
Those lessons have also affected me in the ways that I would never even imagine.
It has shown me to be different and to, not settle for mediocrity. When you're producing a show, you want your show to be the best one it can be. You want it to be, a show to remember, a show that you want to look back on and say, I did that.
Yes, I did do this. Did I believe that I could do this? No, but because of all the support that I gained, I know that I can actually get this done.
I know that the skills I've learned here is something I'm never going to forget, and same with the experiences here.
From all of us here at GHS-TV, have a great day.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back. I'm Donna Chandler Newman, and you are watching Inspiring Leaders. Today we're talking about Germantown Community Theatre, and we are so pleased that Brian Everson, GCT's Executive Director, continues his discussion with us. We're delighted to be joined now by Dr. James Bo Adams, President of the Board of Directors for Germantown Community Theatre. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Donna. Glad to be here. Our pleasure.
I'm so pleased to see you both. So we heard about Brian's history a few minutes ago. Bo, you are a critical care doctor. Tell me, like a real live medical doctor.
Yes, I don't just play one on TV. I am a real doctor in real life, yes.
And critical care.
Yes.
Tell me how those skills have translated to being chairman of the board.
Great question. I think being a critical care doctor, I always either was drawn to crises or made crises come around me. So I was the guy that when someone was not doing well, from any standpoint, I was there to help fix them, whether it was surgical, medical, respiratory, neurosurgical, almost any kind of critical situation for patients. I was involved in those. I wasn't in any one area. I guess I developed critical skills of how to address situations, assess situations, triage situations, and focus on what were the real issues and how to get things done. And I think that things that I tend to be drawn to in the community in some ways are situations that need some attention. And so I seem to fit into those fairly well.
Well, and GCT did it one time, and we do know that Eric was called in and did some triage himself, and now Brian is our executive director, and we're in a good place right now. So that whole triaging thing worked well, didn't it?
Well, also give credit to Brian. He was on the board then too when all the crisis was happening too.
Absolutely.
There, so he was part of that period also.
That selection of Eric to begin. You know what we didn't talk about a minute ago is where your dollars come from. You and I both know that though I may have a membership, in no way does that cover what it costs to produce
It does.
a show. Tell me where all the dollars come from, Brian.
Our dollars come from a few sources. Number one, the city of Germantown is very generous and is our number one supporter. And without their support, we would not be able to do what we do. We also are heavily supported by the Tennessee Arts Commission, Arts Memphis, some GPAC, various other grantors in our area, and our patrons, creative partners. This year, Gene and Andy Saunders are our season sponsors, and they've made very generous donations to us this year and in years past. And all of our creative partners, consistently, year after year, are remembering to donate to us, and that helps fill the gap between ticket sales and production costs.
And I just paid my taxes, so hopefully I can join the sponsorship role again.
We're excited. We'll be excited to have Bo back as a sponsor soon.
I know. Bo is a treasure with that. Bo supports with his mind, his time, talent, and treasure, all three. So that's a good thing, isn't it?
You try to bring your skill set to the table there. As we were talking earlier, I said one of our roles is to help people get your shot from your spot, and if you find a role that you can fill, and you try to do that.
Well, tell me this then. You've added some members to the board recently. I am among them. Thank you. What exactly are you looking for from your board, and what do you want them to bring to the table?
Well, I'll just jump in there for a second, Eric, and Brian, just say your shot from your spot. We needed people that wanted to be involved. We need people that brought their skill set to the board. We need people that are at some level willing to work, and we need people that are willing to supply ideas, energy, connections, make things happen. We're in a little different phase when I joined the board 3 years ago or so. And the transition we've made to this current era, we're really looking for a growth kind of scenario here. What can we do to make this place better, more well-known, more of a center of the community, improve our theater ambiance when you walk in the door, things like that. So we're looking for people to help fill all those roles.
Well, and I know that one of the things that you bring in particular, because we've known each other quite a while, you bring, just a little, you bring great passion to the theater, but you also brought connections to the theater. You were able to introduce them to pivotal people, correct?
I'll take some credit for some things I did there, but I tried to fit in a situation and help it there. As you know, I did leadership Germantown, and that was a different set of skill sets. When being the critical care doctor in hospital and someone's crashing, well, I'm in charge. I'm this, do this, help me do this. When you're working with groups in the community, and you may not be the expert in a situation, you need different skill sets to work with people. I'll let Brian comment on whether my skill set was appropriate or not there on things there. So you tend to bring your talents in there. And I think, as I say, he's the operations guy and Eric's finance guy, and they had their skill levels of things to do. I said I was sort of the connections, energy, and ideas guy, and I tried to bring those in, and you try to get people excited around you. Passion may be the word. Intensity is probably a better word to say for me, I think there. And Brian will tell you that the whole board that was there bought into whatever I was saying or everybody else was saying. We all got together and everybody just jumped on board.
And he was on that board.
He was on that board, and the ones that are there at that time, everybody stepped up. We, everybody made financial contributions. We reconnected with groups that had fallen away. We reconnected with the city and showed them we can make this place work. And they stood by us, and they even doubled their contribution to us this last year too, because we put up or shut up, I guess, and it actually worked. I'll shut up now for a second.
Brian, what are you looking for from your board members?
The theater, we have a very small staff. It's we have 3 full-time people, so any operational support in roles that we don't necessarily have expertise in. Eric's financial expertise, Bo's connections with just him knowing people. It means such a great deal to just people that we need to connect with, because the staff, being only 3 people, we may not know who we need to go talk to, but Bo probably does, or yourself probably knows who we need to talk to. We also need people that have some ideas artistically, because the board ultimately is responsible for selecting our productions. So we need to reach out to some people who have a combination of artistic sense with business sense, because you need both to put a successful season on. So
that's true.
We have to reach out to people that have some skills in those areas.
You know, you alluded to it a few minutes ago about how you put together a season, but how do you decide what goes on the stage?
Well, we have a list right now. It probably has about 30 shows on it. And we have a committee made up of board members, the staff, and then some just outside volunteers that will sit down on that list and begin reading the plays. And then we will get together and discuss and give our thoughts on these plays, and then we'll discuss, is the show actually any good? Can we actually stage it in our space? Who are we going to market this show to? And by the end of those discussions, we will have narrowed the shows down into about 7 or 8 shows that we will be producing next year.
And sometimes people on trips to New York find shows and bring them down.
We do.
Bring down one of our best shows there too, so thanks for that.
And which one would that be?
My wife and I went and, I guess it was 5 years ago, went to New York and saw a show called First Date. And we saw the show and we loved it and said, you know what? That's the perfect show for GCT.
And
so we brought it back to GCT and we had just a sold out run of it.
Well, you did, and in fact, some of us saw it several times and brought friends. So
Good. I'm glad to hear
that
it.
would be me. Yeah, and my husband loved it too. Your upcoming show though is Mousetrap, right?
Correct. Agatha Christie's Mousetrap.
Agatha Christie's Mousetrap. Tell me what's going to be exciting about that show.
Well, Mousetrap is the longest running show. It's been running in London since 1952 consistently. Every week. I assume they probably are dark Mondays, but 6 days a week. Mousetrap has been running since 1952. So it's Agatha Christie's most beloved play. Our patrons, it's probably their most beloved Agatha Christie, and they love Agatha Christie. So it's a stormy night, it's a winter night, and you get locked in with the killer. And you've got to find out who the killer is before you end up dying.
And the stage is so small, you feel like you're probably could be one of the next ones to get knocked off.
You could be the next victim.
It's amazing how the staging works with that very small, intimate theater that we have there. I'm always amazed by how the sets work and the actors interplay with the set and the audience themselves when they're coming in and out of there.
To me, that's one of the largest treasures of the entire thing. I feel,
it is to me.
I absolutely feel the emotion because we're right there at it. Gentlemen, it is such a pleasure to talk with you today. You've done wonderful work in the community. I'm looking forward to the next 47 years plus.
Calendar here.
Absolutely.
With Germantown Community Theatre. Thank you both for being leaders in the organization.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It means so much that you had us today.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for being with us today for Inspiring Leaders. We appreciate our guests on today's show, Brian Everson, Eric Newsom, and Bo Adams, all with Germantown Community Theatre. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about the absolutely entertaining live theater they produce. And I do hope you're planning to join me as an eager season ticket holder and a loyal supporter of Germantown Community Theatre. Now, if you've been inspired and you'd like to see their upcoming production of Mousetrap, like I do, and if you'd like to donate, to get involved, or just to know more about Germantown Community Theatre, then please do visit their website, gctcomeplay.org. Thank you once more for watching our show. If you're interested in the air dates of Inspiring Leaders or for our station's complete programming guide, you can visit GHS-TV.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. You can keep up with GHS-TV by visiting our website. We hope you'll like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you for joining us for today's show, and be sure to watch our show, Inspiring Leaders, again next month.